everyone. This episode of the Creative Podcast, I had a very special guest, my friend Erika, and we talked about monetizing your platform, whether or not you should or shouldn't do it, and for what reasons, balancing relaxation with productivity, our top 3 things to do on our creative bucket list, and everything that there is to know about creating a blog, and so much more, because we just got ahead of ourselves and got carried away and enjoyed our conversation. So we hope you do too. Hey creatives, today we have our very first special guest. Would you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Erika Roldan. I am 17 years old, and I am... What else was I supposed to say?
Your grade.
Oh, right. 12th grade. And I have a blog called Ponder, which is a combination of the words ponder and wonder. And it's meant to incite people to ponder about the things around them or things that they consume and wonder about the depth of those things. So, yeah.
Which is really cool. You all should definitely go check it out, okay? And how I know Erika is, well, she reached out to me after I probably promoted it like 15 times that people should reach out to me to be a guest on the show, and you can too, of course. But I know her from high school. We were in BPA together. We took a couple of classes together. Yeah, we were in some classes
Yes.
together.
Yeah.
And over time, we just kind of got closer and closer, which I'm really happy about because I thought she was the coolest person in the world when I first saw her. But then I was kind of like, I don't think I'm that cool. She has like a really cool haircut. She seems really nice. Oh, we also saw each other at, what was that thing?
Brace Cadets.
Yeah, Brace Cadets. Just so happens we were both looking to do that, and I decided to drop out of it because I didn't have time. But
kind of glad that you missed out a little bit. But anyways, that's a story for another time.
A story for another time, absolutely. And you're welcome here anytime you'd like. Of course, we can do another episode. It's not a one-time thing. But yeah, that's the history of Erika and I. That's the history that we share. Would you like to add anything to that? Am I missing something?
I feel bad for you saying that I was cool because honestly, in high school, I just had such tunnel vision. I never paid attention to classmates or like literally anybody. And I don't remember when, but I think it was when our accounting teacher, had us go into groups or something. Mm-hmm. And then I asked, correct me if I'm wrong because my memory is terrible, but I asked like, oh, what's your name and stuff? And you said Kayla. And then you were saying, oh no, this was at the Brace Cadets thing. You were saying that you were in my accounting class. And then I realized, oh crap, yes you are. And I just never realized. So I feel horrible about that.
No, don't feel bad. Honestly, it's just, I am such a observant type of person. Like everyone who comes across me, I pretty much remember their face. I don't know why. It's a really weird thing. Maybe not their name, but their face, definitely. And then I can after 5 minutes pinpoint where I know them from. So that's just a thing in my brain. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess so. It works out in certain situations. Mm-hmm. So, for the fun time, we've got sharing positives and negatives for the week. So a positive would be something that has given you energy this week, even though it's the middle of the week, I guess, in the start. And a negative would be something that has taken energy away from you or made you feel, I don't know, kind of tired or something like that. So you can start off.
Okay, so I've been kind of struggling a little bit recently. I mean, the new year started off great, but then I don't know why, but the past week, I haven't really been. I've been using TV as an escape because I've been thinking about a lot of things with friends and what type of friendships that I want and relationships, but I would say that is definitely something that's been draining me, is like my own thoughts. But something that's been helping is surprisingly school, because it gives me a distraction while being productive. And also taking walks has been really nice, and hanging out with my sister has been really nice as well. And then I also took the time to plan like a friend's day out with my friends. So while I've been having those thoughts about them, it also kind of helps me kind of think about, why I'm friends with them, and that kind of helps me get me out of my negative mood. And I haven't really been doing any hobbies or anything to kind of help me get out of those. So I can't really say one thing for certain, a positive or negative, but I guess it's just trying to balance not indulging in those thoughts and then focusing on productive things. It's like, yeah, basically.
Cool. That sounds really nice, especially taking walks. I found taking walks is something that I hate doing because I hate exercising, but it works for a lot of people. So
yeah,
that's really nice. I'm glad to hear it, that things are kind
thanks.
of balancing out a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And yourself?
I guess I'll start off with the positives. I've had a pretty good week so far, actually. I've been able to spend a lot more time with my family because my semester is coming off to kind of a slow start, so things haven't gotten crazy or hectic yet. Thank God. I'm kind of just like indulging in that, taking my time, cherishing this time, because I know by the end of the semester I'm not going to have it. It's going to be gone. And I guess the negative for the week has been trying not to punish myself for having so much time. I feel like I do this thing where if I have any time, I feel like I have to like occupy it with something or stay super busy. But I'm starting to learn that it's nice to have free time, and that I should be thankful for the free time and enjoy it as much as I can, because I don't always have free time. Yeah. So
Exactly.
not pressuring myself to like be super productive about things and like get a lot done in a day, and just give myself permission to kind of sit around and eat food and like watch shows or read or watch YouTube like as I please, and not
Relax,
really
basically.
Yeah, just relaxing. Also not pressuring myself to like be super creatively productive, because that's a whole nother thing. I feel like sometimes if I have free time, I need to like paint or draw or edit or record a podcast or something, because I'm just like, I have time. Why am I not dedicating it to things? But I'm definitely trying to like take my time, enjoy it. Yeah, I'm not gonna ramble anymore on that, but I'm sure you get where I'm coming from.
I 100% do, and that's another thing that was bothering me this week, because I only have like, I'm looking at them now, I just have them on my wall, like maybe 5 or 6 drawings that I'm really proud of, and I'm working on another one, but it's been a couple weeks since my friend asked me to do it, and I've had a lot of free time, but just no motivation to do it. I want to relax. I start to do it a little bit, and then I kind of want to do something else. And it's like, you can't force yourself to be creative, because then it's going to turn out trash.
Yeah.
And then you feel bad for putting it off, because then you practice, and it just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
With that creative mindset.
Definitely. The practicing part, for sure. I feel like because I have so much time, I need to spend it practicing and like getting better, because I feel like my drawing skills they're not top tier yet. And I'm trying to get them to be there, but it's fine. If it takes me my whole lifetime to like get to where I need to be, I'm starting to become more and more okay with that. Like some people, it did take them their lifetime to get to where they were.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like that's like a whole nother topic with like the age mindset of people, how now we feel like when we're like 16 years old, we need to have this and this and this together and like be masters at everything, but we're literally like children. You need to relax.
Yes, and when you were saying about the whole productivity thing, I was thinking, do you think it's because of just where we live, America, because how much they kind of pressure us to have that workaholic mindset, how, like, even seeing my parents working, my mom works as a pharmacy tech, and then my dad works as a mechanic, and so they barely get any paid time off, and they're constantly working on their feet, grinding, and I'm wondering about, like, people who work in offices. My sister, she works as an accountant, and she constantly has to work, and I'm like, looking at other countries, they seem more relaxed. Granted, we don't live there, obviously, but they seem more relaxed. Obviously, give people more time off to chill, spend time with themselves, cultivating themselves. But do you think it's because of that, or do you think it's just you just want to get stuff done?
I think it's definitely the social, cultural aspect of just America. I think if I was somewhere else, I'd definitely be like a little more chill, just because we're human beings. Like, we monkey see, monkey do everything. So it's kind of like, because these people around us are like hustling and bustling and like always working super hard, we feel like we have to always do the same thing. And I feel like because in America they don't value certain things as like work, like creative things aren't necessarily work. It's kind of more like a hobby or something you do on the side and not something that you actually put time into it, type of thing. But it's hard to explain to people like, I'm busy drawing, because they don't take it seriously. But that's a whole nother topic. We can go very deep into that. Random question. This is a surprise question. You can answer this now, or you can answer it at the end of the podcast episode to give you some time to think about it. But what are the top 3 things on your creative bucket list?
Top 3 things on my creative. One, I can say, if I answer this later, I'm going to forget it.
Okay. So go ahead.
Okay, so my first thing is, I have a lot, but my first thing is to write and publish a book. What type of book? I don't know, but I really want to write a book. And my second thing I would have to say is probably doing a mural of some kind. I did a mural in middle school, and it's not good, but I had a lot of fun with it. So I really want to do it again, but I want to do one maybe in my house, or one day I want to own my own cafe, so hopefully I can do one there. And then I want to either learn how to play guitar, or I'm gonna just go with learn how to play guitar, because I really can't think of anything else.
Cool. Okay, so you stole one of mine. And actually, I also want to do a mural too, but that wasn't on my top 3. But I love painting walls. I don't know what it is about painting a wall. I discovered that last year when I had to paint one of the walls in our house, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. I wish I could do this like every day and just find walls to paint. Yeah, that's a really good one. So mine, I had to write them down because I'm not going to remember them. Okay, my first one is to make a movie that either teaches people something or provokes some kind of change. I feel like movies are very impactful, especially for me, because I love like film. I won't say I'm a film geek because I have not watched all of the best movies of all time, but I know movies that are really good and very thought-provoking, and like I want to make one like that one day, hopefully, if I get the skills for it. Second, I want to have some kind of art gallery. I don't know if I'd want this to be like a permanent standing building. where I constantly run it, or if I'd want it to just be like a night type of thing, like a temporary one night gala of some sort. But I think that would be really fun to do, to like invite different artists, local artists, and just have like different things. I feel like art galleries are kind of specific. They're very like picture, sculpture, thing like that. But I think I'd want to show more than that, like maybe more like music or videos or things like that, like incorporated into it. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, did you want to add anything to that?
I did, but I'll let you finish.
Okay. And what's my last one? Oh, my last one was to write a book. I think I want to write more like fun books, like a fun book for adults or children's books or something like that. Like I could see myself writing a cute little kid's book and illustrating it.
I could see that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that would be really fun. I really loved books when I was smaller, and especially the ones that were like nicely illustrated. I had a higher appreciation for those. So I think I'd want to do that. Yeah.
That'd be really cool. I definitely see you doing that.
Thanks.
And with the art gallery too, like I could totally see you doing that, and I would really find that awesome because, like you said, I mean, most people do for art galleries. It's, I wouldn't say dead, but it's more quiet. Mm-hmm. But having an art gallery that's loud and kind of gets the senses going, I feel like that's more interactive and rememberable. No, that's not a word. Memorable.
Yeah.
And I want to write a book, and I can't even speak right. Memorable to like whoever consumes it, whoever visits. And then with your first one, the mural, right? That was the first one? Movie. Yeah. Right. That was actually that was the one that I was between guitar and a movie, but I couldn't remember what a movie was for some reason. You don't have to be a film geek to be a movie critic, because I felt you on that. Like this, sometimes when you're watching a movie and it's okay, you can't help but just want to fix it.
Yeah.
With whatever's wrong with it. And then you feel like a critic and you're like, oh, I kind of can see what's wrong. They could have done better directing or better filmography, whatever. But yeah, I feel you on that. On that.
I think I'm an annoying person to watch a movie with, because I'm either quoting the movie or I'm pointing out things that could have been better. I'm like, oh, that could have been written better. You know?
I know, me too. Yeah. My sister makes it a joke. She's like, every time there's a movie that has some sort of mystical being or whatever that requires CGI, every time I can't help but notice whenever it just looks bad, whenever it just clips out or something goes wrong with it, I can't help but point it out. And she's like, well, here we go again. The freaking CGI critic.
But it's fun. I enjoy it. It is. Pointing out all of the bad parts of movies is definitely fun. I feel like Rotten Tomatoes is very wrong a lot of the time, so I can't even say
that
Rotten Tomatoes. True. Yeah, they make me very upset with that. Yes. Okay, so to get into the dirt of it, I guess you would say, I'll ask Erika about her experience as a blogger, and maybe some of her responses will either inspire you or enlighten you. No pressure, Erika. You don't have to say anything like super enlightening, but learning about different types of blogging outside of personal blogging, I think, is very cool, because I never thought of making a blog that was like not so much that's like going on in your life, but kind of more going on in your head. So first off, I'll ask you, why did you start Ponder?
So I started, I'm smiling so hard, I don't know why, but I started it, I would say technically a couple years ago, around when I started high school, because this was the time where I was, after 2 or 3 years that we moved to Florida, and I was really into creative stuff. much more than I am now, like with video editing and photo editing. So I wanted to try my hand at writing. So it wasn't called Ponder. I started under the name Dorlin, which is my last name kind of rearranged. And I wrote only 3 or 4 posts, and it was mostly pertaining to news. And initially I wanted it to be more talk about news, and then it'd be more opinionated at the end, like give my own opinion, and talk about local stories or things that fly under the radar of people. But I got busy with school and realized it'd take a long time and a lot of dedication to cross-check facts to make sure that what I'm discussing is relevant to the news story and that I'm not disrespecting anybody. So I kind of stopped with that, and I wanted to get back into it for the next couple of years, but I didn't really know what to do. So then I think it was because of Brace Cadets, actually, that I got the idea of having my own thing of just posting things that would be helpful or insightful to people. I had an Instagram account where I posted about stuff to help kids through college and career stuff, telling them about FAFSA and all that stuff. But I liked it. So when around, I think it was March, April, or May, when shutdown started, I wanted to try my hand at something different. So I tried looking around. I'm not an expert with blogging, so I was browsing around a little bit, and I found WordPress. So I skimmed through WordPress sometimes, and I found that a lot of people were posting about anecdotes from their own lives or from somebody else's lives, and talking about news stuff, but also inputting their own opinion. But it wasn't necessarily how you see news outlets do it with opinion pieces. It felt more personal, and I really liked it. And so I wanted to try my hand at that. So then I wrote about, not necessarily my experience with Brace Cadets, but things that I started to think about with the education system and stuff. And I wrote a couple posts on WordPress, but I still felt kind of insecure about it because I felt like, reads blogs anymore, really. Like, it kind of feels dead. And also that it wasn't necessarily what I wanted it to be. Something was missing. And then when I talked to my friend about it, his name is Ken, he came up with the idea of Ponder. Like, we went through a couple of names together, and then he came up with the idea of Ponder. And then we finalized it to Ponder and Wonder combined into one word. And he wrote 2 posts for the WordPress site, and I fixed it up, rearranged it, and it was gaining, I wouldn't say traction on WordPress, but it got like a few comments from strangers, and it was getting some likes. But I just wanted to try something simpler than WordPress because there were some functions on there that I'd get really frustrated with, that I just didn't feel like I had the time to take really to know and learn more. So I wanted something simpler. So then I went on to Blogspot, moved some of the blog posts over, and I've been reading this publication called The Doe, which is on Instagram. It's THEDOE, and they post blog posts about civil discourse. And I also really like still to visit WordPress every once in a while and read personal anecdote stories, because it kind of helps keep me inspired, and then also see that people, still blog posts sometimes. But yeah, what's the initial question again? Sorry.
It's fine. Why did you start Ponder?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I basically just started it because of all the things that I said, I wanted to help provide some insight to, day-to-day things. I'm always thinking about things all the time. It's probably why I can't talk most of the time. It's because I'm always thinking. My brain runs like a mile a minute, so I wanted to somehow get it out. And I felt that doing the blog in this way, where I don't focus necessarily on news, and if I do, it's more from a personal perspective and not really from a reporter's perspective. I felt like that way I wouldn't be disrespectful if it was something really bad that was happening, and I would also be able to kind of help people start to think more deeply about the things around them, that, there's more to a movie that seems like for fun than it seems, or there's more to someone's actions than it seems. And even if it's not intentional, there's a lot of subconscious developments that you can gain from taking a step back and observing and contemplating these things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's it.
That's really cool. I actually didn't know that you started like in the beginning of high school. I thought this was completely new for you. So you've been in the blogging game for a while. That's pretty cool. And
I would say on and off, because I guess.
But still, you still have those years under your belt. I still consider those years under your belt.
Thanks.
What you were saying about kind of like having a place for your thoughts, I wanted to say that that's like definitely something that hits home for me, because I feel like I don't talk very much to like random people on the street. I guess not as much as everyone else does, I feel like. So I either talk my family members' ear off about something that they don't really care that much about.
Too.
Yeah. Or I don't say anything at all, or I like write it in a random book somewhere and I forget about it. But I feel like there's a lot of things that people have to say, or ideas that we have kind of like hidden away in our storage files that could really help the world and help other people and like open people up to new ideas. So I think it's really cool that you went through with it and that you have it now. I think it's awesome. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. It means a lot.
You're welcome. Second question. What made you go for the blog format? You kind of touched on that a little bit, but to go into it a little bit more, what made you go exactly for that?
I was thinking, I can't tell you how many times I've tried to record myself talking, and then I mentioned this before we started recording, but I would go off on tangents, and so I would never really, like you said before, there are good and bad tangents. I would always go for the bad tangents. I lose track of time, and I never really am able to get to the point because my brain is just like a spider web. It just starts to connect things at different points, and then when I would play those back, whether audio or video, which I've tried both, it just never hits the point that I initially wanted to. My brain would get distracted, so I decided on writing because I took English language composition junior year, and I really enjoyed it, learning more about diction and authors' writing styles and the importance of grammar. I know it's a lot of people joke around like, oh, the author wrote that the curtains were blue. What does that mean? But I realize like sometimes it's useless to know, but other times it really carries the meaning of the story or the book home. And so we read a lot of we read a lot of passages for preparation of exams and tests and stuff, but a lot of those passages were really interesting and narratives and also fictional stories, and I really enjoyed them a lot. So that's when I was really like, I think the blog format is the best thing for me because it allows me to practice my writing skills And it also allows me to organize my thoughts better and be able to reflect on my thoughts and realize when I'm going too far off the deep end. And it allows me to get peer review without forcing people to sit through 30 minutes of me talking. So yeah, that's why I chose the blog format.
That's a relief to hear, because I feel like I was one of the only people who actually enjoyed reading passages in high school. Everyone else is kind of just like, oh, another one. And I'm just like, oh, yay, what's this one about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember writing down after our test, like, trying to remember the name of the passages.
Yes!
I lost a piece of paper.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. I lost a piece of paper, but there's this one especially, which I just never forgot. It was, I don't remember the whole passage, but it was this guy who was writing about laziness. And at first he was writing about how, lazy people are useless. They're awful, whatever. But then halfway through, he changed his direction through like author's diction and rhetorical whatever. And he started to talk about, well, lazy people are bad in this way, but they have their reasons. They contemplate things too much. They feel too much. They have went through some type of trauma or experience that has taken away their basically faith or will to live. And so that's why they're lazy. That's why they're always self-indulgent and impulsive. And so maybe we should give them leeway. Maybe we shouldn't shame them as much as we do. And I was like, I like that because that's me. I feel like that. And, maybe it's okay to be lazy sometimes. But then he also turned into a warning at the end where he was saying, even though lazy people have their reasons, not to let it come up, like not to let it swallow you, basically. Mm-hmm. And so that was a really cool passage. And there's so many more that were really cool. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. But yeah, the passages are always really cool with high school. Yeah. People should pay more attention to them.
I feel you on that one. Me, during the SAT, like, trying to write it on the desk, but, like, trying to not look like I'm cheating, but, like, trying to make sure I remember because there were, like, 8 passages. Yeah, definitely felt that in my core. Gosh, flashbacks to high school. Other than that, I'm trying to think, was there anything else? Oh, I also wanted to say, did you have, like, a mild kind of obsession with Old English phase like me, or was that just no,
that was me too. Yeah, that was me too. I should probably, I wrote a post about it, but I never posted it on the new blog that I have. I read Candide, or listened to the audiobook of Candide, and which is by Voltaire, and I highly recommend reading it or listening to it, especially for you, Kaylee, because I'm like, I really enjoyed it. It talked about this guy who goes through a bunch of adventures, and he always tries to maintain a positive outlook on his adventures, but bad things just keep happening to him. Ooh. And his buddies are always like, this is useless. Why are you even trying? Or you'll never meet this person again. But then he does, and then eventually, things get better, but then he starts to become restless towards the end that things are better. Like, something's bound to happen, right? Like, all this, the fact that I can have my friends close by and all this green grass and stuff, like, there has to be something more, right? And then, or I think that was his friend, and then he just ended up being like, you know what, bud, just relax, basically. Yeah. That's what he said at the end. Basically, just relax, like, calm down. nothing has to happen for you to be happy, or you don't have to be waiting for something to happen. My friend, I told her about the novel, and my friend, she was like, I understand the appeal, but I would like to hear, perspective on suffering from someone who's actually suffered, not some white philosophical guy from the 1600s. And I was like, you're kind of right on that. But yeah, I still thought it was pretty cool. So
yeah, it's something about the history of it for me, because obviously I'm not an old white guy from the 1600s, but I enjoy reading books like that because I feel like that's kind of where a lot of things came from culturally, whether people know it or not. And the people who were reading kind of like spread things through word of mouth, and like more ideas got out. And then you have the different fables, or I'm trying to think, the word is fleeting me. I can't remember the word that I was trying to think. But those things that people have in their mind that they think will happen if they do like a specific thing.
It's not premonitions, right? It's
yes. Like,
it's premonitions.
Kind of along that line.
Yeah, I get what you mean though. It's
Superstitions, yes. Like how superstitions came about and why people behave the way that they do. I feel like it came from books, from stories, from different like philosophers or authors or writers or whoever, like putting a story together, someone reading it and then someone telling it to someone else, and like then all of a sudden it's an actual thing that people are practicing. It's kind of like how movies work nowadays, but that was back in the day. Yeah, so I think all of that is really cool, and I'm not gonna go deep on that, but yeah, you didn't have anything else to add, did you?
No, I just thought that was basically it. The movies are like the new books. And I felt you when you talked about movies earlier, that you learned a lot through movies, and I did too. And I feel like obviously people more nowadays are realizing the value behind movies, but definitely they're, just like you said, just allow people word of mouth, learn new lessons, realize what's right and wrong and all that stuff.
Yeah, very true. So, third question, do you have any specific goals for Ponder, or is it more of like a creative outlet for you, something that's just more for you or like relaxed, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say a part of me wants it to be something, but then another part of me doesn't, because I think you touched on this in your podcast at some point, or somebody else did, but where it's creative, when you're creative and then you gain more attention. I think it was the influencer episode where you gain more attention, then you feel like you have to do it for the people instead of yourself. And so for the money, to make sure that, you keep getting people to read or look at your stuff. And so I don't really want, obviously if I say something wrong or offensive, I want people to call me out on it, but I don't want to be called out on something that is an unpopular opinion, but is harmless. And so I don't want to be basically censored. And that's a worry of mine if I gain traction, is that honestly, I prefer if I just maybe had a cult following, maybe 10, 15 people maximum, and just maybe had some engagement. That's more than enough for me. And then once I stop it, if I ever stop it, I wouldn't mind if it grew into something, but I would rather it grow into something once I've stopped than while I'm doing it, so that I don't feel like I have to stop because my creative outlet is being limited. So I guess to answer your question more simply, is that it's more of a creative outlet for me. But I do plan on using it for relevant like job experience if need be, because at the end of the day, it does help to know stuff with social media. Like with Blogger, it kind of forces you to learn that stuff because with WordPress, it was kind of automatic. You just had to put tags in. WordPress handled it. But with Blogger, you have to learn how to do Google Analytics, learn SEO, a bunch of other stuff, which I haven't even bothered to look at, which I really need to. But yeah, it kind of forces you to learn that stuff. So one day when it comes to the end of me using the blog as an outlet, I'll focus more on it. But for right now, it's more of a creative outlet, I guess.
I think that's a good thing. It's very nice to just have an outlet for you. It also sounds kind of, I don't know, selfish sometimes, but like, it's hard when you have a following, because like you said, you have to like censor yourself, or you feel like you have to at least, and you just deal with a whole lot more comes into play, like the money part of it. Like you said, you have to think about that. Even if you don't want to, you kind of have to. And I feel like people kind of expect for you to want to be there no matter what. Like, even if you're just putting yourself out there just for fun, they feel like you're working at something or you have some kind of angle, just because it's like how a lot of things are now. But I think it's really important just to have things that are for us, like things that we enjoy doing just because we like to do it, you know?
Exactly.
That helps us have creative freedom, which I feel like a lot of people don't really understand, like the importance of creative freedom, especially creatives themselves. I feel like we limit ourselves a lot in that area. And when you were talking about the job thing, sometimes I have this like fear that putting things out there that haven't necessarily been successful in the eyes of others, like whether or not it's actually valuable, you know? It's kind of weird, like interviewing for jobs, because I've been doing that a lot, not like full-time positions, but like internships. They'll ask about things that I've done, and if I put something on there that hasn't necessarily gained a lot of traction, especially in the realms of like social media and my creative stuff, my personal creative stuff, they don't really seem to value it. They kind of like are disappointed with it. They're just like, you know, yeah, kind of like an anybody can do that thing. And it's really discouraging in that way. I feel like just because it's not something that a million people know about or a million people are loving right now doesn't mean that it's not going to get some love later on, you know? Lots of creatives do things during their lifetime and they die, and then it pops off right after they die, and it's just like, okay, you know? Yeah.
Could have done this earlier, but that's another thing, is that I don't necessarily put it as, what I do is I don't necessarily put it down as like as part of my resume, even though I want to,
right? Because
I figure that like they're not going to value it, so instead I just say experience with SEO or experience with Google Analytics or social media, because like you said, it's like companies don't value that. They value numbers over what creative stuff that you have.
Yeah, that you can actually put out.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, do you feel like that now? I know you used to do your small business, but do you still, like with your following that's followed you through your transformation into creative thought, do you feel still like you have to censor yourself on YouTube and through here now, or do you feel like a little bit more free?
I definitely feel more free, and it took a long time for me to feel more comfortable just kind of like making whatever I wanted to, just because it's my stuff. I can do what I want. I had to tell myself that a lot, because at first I was like, is this really appropriate? This is a business page. What am I gonna do now? You know, I'm not a small business owner anymore. Is anyone actually going to be interested in like anything else that I have to say? Because they followed me because it was a small business page, not because they wanted to hear what I had to say or like what I was doing. But I kind of just said, you know, this is an opportunity for me to put myself out there in front of people who probably never would have known anything about me had I not done this. So for the same reason that I started the page in the first place, I'll go ahead and put myself out there the way I want to, you know, and not necessarily the way other people would have preferred for me to, because I got a lot of feedback from people telling me to like go on different paths that I didn't necessarily want to go on, like do more small business type of like advice stuff, even though that's not really what I wanted to do anymore, you know? And it took a long time for me to like stop listening to them, listen to myself, and change things the way I wanted to change them. So I don't remember what your question was.
Yeah, it was that, like, whether or not you felt more free with the change, because I figured that, you know, some people might still want your old content type stuff, and so I was just wondering, like, whether or not you felt satisfied with that change. But it definitely feels like you are, and so I think that's really awesome that you still went for what you wanted at the end of the day, because I'm sure that felt like some type of way seeing people say, oh, I want you to go back to what you were doing before, but you want to do something that feels more personal to you, and it's hard to go for that route, especially like, just connecting it with all the things that we talked about already. It's just social pressure, and then being concerned about you know, the whole money thing. And I'm sure how did that feel, like going from a small business to something that probably had a big change in the money that you were getting?
I definitely just had to like hash out a plan, because I wasn't making like that much money to begin with. It was more, everything I was getting was either taxes or going back into the business, and it was like just going like that. But it was increasing over time to where I could like expand inventory and things like that. So after that, it was a bit of a change in my lifestyle, because I felt like my head was kind of just stuck in that for so long. I had to figure out like what I actually wanted to spend my time on, I guess, which is straying away from the question, but I'll get back to it.
No, that's fine.
So I had to figure out like what I wanted to spend my time on, skills that I actually wanted to expand on, a lot of which actually came from starting the business and learning more about like what I actually like doing. And from there, I just started looking into internships, paid internships, which actually is not that hard to come across now. So if you get the opportunity, definitely look into them for college. Usually they want you to be like a college student or something. But yeah. Lost my train of thought. There it goes. I don't know if you noticed it leaving, but it left. It's gone.
I felt like I saw it. I felt like I saw it departing. And then mine just left as well. I was like, oh, there it goes. There's mine as well. I think you were saying like,
I feel like my face just went so blank.
oh my God.
2 whole minutes of laughing. That's what you get on this podcast. I'm crying.
Oh man.
I don't know what I was saying. Next question. I don't know. Did I answer the question?
Oh, right, about the money. It was about the money.
Okay, yes.
Right, like how that changed,
okay.
The shift, how that changed.
Yeah.
And then you were saying that.
So the shift was going into looking for paid internships, because I knew I couldn't take on like even a part-time job, because those are usually...
Sorry.
It's fine.
I wish I took a picture, because it was just so, like...
Maybe next time I'll like screen record. Maybe I should do that. That would have been a funny moment to get on camera.
Oh yeah.
yeah, shifting to the paid internship thing. And then personally, I don't spend a lot of money on myself. I feel like the most money I spend is probably on coffee, which isn't good, but
Me too. I felt that.
yeah. Other than that, I'm like, I wouldn't say cheap, but I'm very frugal. Like for myself, when it's other people, I'll spend $100. But when it's me, I'm like, if it's not $1, I'm not getting it. So, yeah. The money thing wasn't like too bad of a thing. I definitely was worrying about it going into college though, because I still wasn't sure like what my college situation was going to be like, which is a whole nother episode I could do. But it worked out in the end. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully.
That's good.
Yeah. You didn't have anything else to say, did you?
No. Anything else I would have to say would just make us go way off topic, because I'm like thinking about what you said about like college.
Oh.
So, because ask that question, because
well, we could get into it. We could get into it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I realized that when I started working, last year, junior year, I got my first jobs and everything. I realized that I wouldn't necessarily say that I got hooked on money, but I got paranoid if I didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking, like, that's also another reason why I don't want to monetize my blog, is that a part of me wants to, because I'm like, making money, extra money on the side. That's perfect. But another part of me knows that if I monetize it, I'm going to get paranoid about the money, and I'm going to get hooked up on the analytics, which is why also I was into stocks and now I'm not, because I know that I'm going to get hooked on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did for a while and I didn't like that. And so it's just like, that's why I asked that question for you, to see if that was a big change for you, which is awesome that it's not, because I feel like that would probably hinder my output with the blog, is
mm-hmm.
that it wasn't making as much money. I'd be like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I feel like that change is something that people need to be careful of. And I feel like I've seen it a lot on YouTube. Mm-hmm. A lot of YouTubers being like, it's not making money. It keeps getting demonetized. What's the point?
Yeah.
And I feel bad for them, because it's like, obviously it's something that they enjoy doing, but then it's not making money. And then you're so used to that it just becomes like, well, it just becomes another job.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then with the whole college thing, like, man, that is scary. Like, I'm supposed to be doing school. I'm graduating this year, and then I'm supposed to be doing school over the summer. And then I just am so confused on FAFSA. Even though I did the whole Brace Cadets thing where I'm supposed to understand how this stuff works, I still don't. And then just worrying about the whole money thing, like, I don't even know how you did it.
Yeah.
Like, doing this, doing school, and then doing internships and worrying about how it was being paid for. I'm like, I'd rather just watch TV and not think about it until the last minute.
Yeah, that's kind of the route that I went for. Definitely just ignore it for as long as possible. I had something to say about the money part. Oh, for the money situation, I try not to think so much about it, because I know that I would get wrapped up in it too. And I try to think to myself, what was your money situation like before you started to earn money from this thing? And if you were fine then, you'll be fine now, and let it go. That's what I have to tell myself, like, over and over again about anything that I could possibly make money from. And right now, I don't really have any like side hustles going on. I'm just kind of like focusing on internships and getting as much experience in like fields that I value as possible, because I do want to be an entrepreneur again someday, but just not in the same way. So I'm trying to like line all my ducks up in a row, while also having an income at the same time. But it makes me appreciate like not being monetized on certain platforms. Like I think I made 6 cents the other day from Anchor. And I was like, oh, look at that, 6 cents.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was exciting, but at the same time, I was so humbled. I was just like, you know what? This is a good start, and I'm enjoying it right now just the way it is. And if it comes into something else one day, great. But if not, I'll be fine. And that's kind of like my mindset towards YouTube, because YouTube now, the monetization process is like a whole lot crazier than it was 10 years ago when I actually wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I probably should have, but yeah, it's crazier. You have to have like a whole lot more watch time, a whole lot more subscribers. Yeah. So I'm enjoying my 200 subscribers right now. I'm like, this is an accomplishment. I had 0 last year when I started. Mm-hmm. I'm happy for myself, because if I had like, you know, random videos blow up here and there, and then people get like a random burst of subscribers, if that had happened to me, I think I would have been freaking out, and I would have been like, I don't know what I want to do, you know? It gives me more time to explore what kind of content I want to make, different editing styles and things like that, without feeling like I'm tied down to, like you said, the money, and making sure that all of the analytics are like going well and still booming, you know? So yeah. Mm-hmm. I think
how's the internships going?
So I started off with a digital marketing agency in the fall.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. They sent me a laptop, and I was like, oh my gosh, y'all are rich. But I started off with them, and that was a great like breaking into a corporate world experience, because they weren't anything like I thought they would be for a corporate place, you know, very like office work type of place, especially because everything's remote now. It's like totally different than I thought it would be, and that went very well. That was actually a program for high schoolers, though. Somehow I snuck my way in, and now, hopefully, I'll be going into part 2 of that, which is actually like the college internship program. So the high school one, it was more education based. It was more like learning the higher level of all of the departments and what they do, and doing small little like homework assignments based around each department every week. And we'd have like meetings daily and things like that. But now it's definitely going to be something more independent, more actual client work that I'd be working on from all of the departments. So I wouldn't be working on like one specific thing like creative or analytics, because those are a couple of departments that they have. So that hasn't actually started yet. That's actually why I have a lot more free time, which I'm very glad about. But once that starts, it's over. I'm dead. Living off of coffee, because I think it'll go up to like 30 hours a week, which is
oh my gosh,
fine.
okay.
I'll be fine. Yeah, but if I go ghost, you all know why. Yeah, so awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Did you have anything else?
Just that I'm jealous, but that's really it.
I didn't get it on my own. I actually got it from, okay, so it's kind of weird, but like I did a club at ATC last year called Junior Achievement. Right. It's like a entrepreneurship club. So
I remember telling you about it.
Yeah, I did that. And then the lady who was like over that for South Florida, she contacted me because they had like a partnership with the company. Since the company's based, well, not based, but it has like how do I say this? It has a location in Fort Lauderdale, and the CEO lives in Fort Lauderdale. So they're like pretty close together contact-wise. So basically, they asked if anyone from the Junior Achievement Program would want to work in their internship program, because they're still kind of new with the intern thing. They're still trying to like, you know, develop good classes of interns. I think I was in the second one for the high schoolers. And I think this will be the first one that I go into at this level, like the first year, second year college students. So yeah, it was kind of like she knew me, they knew her, she recommended me, I got the internship thing, not the internship, the interview, and like that, yeah.
Right, but still, it's really awesome. It's always the connections. Did it take you by surprise?
It really did, because I didn't really know what I was going to do in the summertime. I was looking for internships, but I didn't really know which ones to search for, and I'm much better at finding internships now. I actually, because they hadn't contacted me up until a few days ago about starting the internship this semester, I was looking for some, getting interviews, getting, what do they call them, offers, but fortunately I had to turn them all down because...
Oh, look at you!
Yeah.
Heartbreaker.
Yeah, heartbreaker. But yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do that summer, and I didn't know what I was going to do in the fall, so when she called me, I was like, perfect! Great! I'll take it. Yeah. So that was exciting. Patting myself on the back for that one, pulling that off.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
It's always least expected, the best opportunities, which is I don't know why, but it just makes life so much more fun.
Yeah, those little surprise moments, definitely. Yeah. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any advice for someone who wants to start a blog?
I would say, for blogs in particular, I would say that you definitely have to have a passion, or at least a liking to writing, because if you don't, you're going to fall flat on your face very fast. And it also helps for you to develop your own personal, not necessarily develop your own personal writing skills, but to see where your writing differs from other people's and use that as your niche, because I'm not a writer. I'm not I am, I guess, but I'm not an expert. Mm-hmm. But it makes me feel more passionate about my blog, seeing and knowing that my particular style of writing, I wouldn't say is super unique or anything, but it's different from the typical, textbook or what you typically read or whatever, or at least I hope it is. But that definitely motivates me to write. Find a niche for yourself, whether it be travel or whatever, but not necessarily a general travel blog, but be you want to be a travel blogger. Okay, so are you going to focus more on restaurants, hole in the walls, free events for wherever you travel to? Find something very specific. With me, for example, I know in my blog it says I talk about anything and everything, but at the same time, my niche is to apply my own depth, basically apply depth to whatever content I intake. And so figuring that out will definitely help you find content in whatever field you want. And it'll definitely motivate you to find content in whatever field you want. And I also feel like that applies to anybody who doesn't want to just be a blogger. It also applies to people who want to do YouTube or podcasts or whatever. And I would also recommend, especially for blogging, is figure out whether or not you want it to be a creative outlet or you want it to be something that blows up. Because if you want it to be something that blows up, you need to be prepared to be censored, to be able to maneuver yourself in a way that you're not being limited by that, and that you can still express yourself while also complying to the masses. And so that'll be more complicated and more difficult. But I've actually found that I haven't read many blog posts, but I found that to me, it seems like more people have freedom through blogs than YouTube or like any other social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because the following for blogs isn't really that large, and it's also that writing has a lot of nuances. So taking that into consideration, you might actually have more freedom. You might not have to really worry about that, but it's still good to consider regardless. And it also helps to know someone who's willing to be an editor for you, because I don't have anybody like that, unfortunately. So some of my blog posts, I go back and I'm like, oh crap, grammar mistake, gotta fix. But yeah, always go back, check your writing. Even if it's months or years from now, it always really does help to get a refresher on how your writing style used to be and whether or not you changed. It helps you notice new things about your writing. And also Google Analytics and like learning more about the free services that Google and Microsoft and all these other systems offer is probably the best, because I feel like a lot of that stuff flies under their radar, the free services that they provide and free educational stuff that they provide. And YouTube is your best friend for learning more about the different blogging platforms. And I would also recommend you to consider whether or not you want to use what type of platform. Whether you want something simple, because that's what Blogger is. It's very simple to use, at least like with formatting, and the interface itself is very simplistic. But when it comes to getting it out there, like having people be able to find it very easily, it's not the best. Like that's when it gets complicated. So that's something to consider. With WordPress, it's very easy to get exposure, but but the website itself kind of demands money for its services, which makes sense because they do offer a lot. And you could always go on to one of those free website platforms like Wix or something and make your own website. But that will take more time and effort in making sure everything is formatted the way you want it to be. But it also allows you more freedom. So you have to just kind of consider how much time you want to put into it, whether or not you want it to, grow an audience, or you just want to use it as an outlet, which right now they're not a blogger, and to grow it, I'd recommend WordPress. But yeah, that's really all the advice that I have.
Cool. I was just thinking some of what you're saying, it's just like, it sounds so kind of universal in a way, because
it does.
Yeah, like when it comes down to anything, like you have to think about all of those things, like whether or not you want it to be big or small, what platforms you want to use. So even if you come to the point where you don't actually want to have a blog, or you decide not to, you could switch lanes but kind of carry the same methodology, I feel like, when figuring out what you want to do. Because I definitely went down the blog route for a hot second. I was like, maybe I'll have a blog, but then I was like, no, I don't want to put that much time into it. It's easier for me to talk things out, so I'll just do that. Yeah.
And that's another thing, is figure out how you communicate best.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm really not a very good conversationalist. I'm kind of awkward, and also when I'm talking, I have a lot of pauses because I need to sit back and figure out, okay, wait, what's the point? What are you trying to say? Thinking about what the other person said and interpreting it, I need sometimes a little bit of time. So blogging, writing things out instead of talking definitely helps me be able to convey my point across better. But with you, for example, you convey your points better through talking. And so that's definitely something you need to consider if you're going to be a content creator. Consider how you communicate best.
That's a very good point. Yes, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Yes. High fives for that one.
High five. Yeah.
So that's the end of my questions. I'm going to give you the opportunity to plug Ponder once again, the social media and the website if you'd like.
Yes. So my Instagram is PW0NDR.
Yes. Yeah.
Probably forgot.
No,
yeah?
You got
okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. It's my blog and I forget what it's called. And so, yeah, just check me out if you want. I got a couple posts there, post maybe monthly, kind of. I wouldn't guarantee monthly posts from me, but yeah, just if you want to read something on your way to work, if you're on the bus or whatever, you're kind of sick of listening to music or whatever, check it out. If not, check out that publication that I mentioned earlier, the Doe, THEDOE. I like them. They talk about really cool stuff. And yeah, that's really it.
Cool. Thank you for being here today, Erika. I really appreciate you being the first guest on the podcast. I'm giving you virtual hugs right now. Virtual hugs.
Me too. I'm giving you a virtual hug. Thank you for having me on. I had a lot of fun.
I had fun too. And I'm going to stop talking now. Bye.